Well, for more on this landmark judgment, we're now being joined by a senior advocate of Nigeria in our studio here in Lagos, Mr. Wahab Shittu. Thank you for joining us on the program.
My pleasure being here.
Did you anticipate this judgment in the UK court on P&ID success for Nigeria?
It is a major success for Nigeria, coming especially on the heels of the meeting of the National Economic Summit Group. You will recall that if this award had not been set aside, it indeed portends grave dangers for the health of the nation's economy. We are talking of $11 billion US as at the date of this judgment. If that had been upheld, you can imagine the colossal effect that will have on our economy, particularly on the efforts of this government. So I congratulate this government, because in this portends a very good sign. The international community will now begin to look at Nigeria in favorable light, because the UK Commercial Court has stated it clearly that the P&ID agreement was induced by fraud. I mean, the arbitral award was induced by fraud and contrary to public policy. And you will see that this is a judgment that was delivered in the UK, and that was significant. The entire world is watching. It's going to really post very positive signals for the health of the Nigerian economy. And as such, it also shows that African countries being led by Nigeria can no longer be taken for a ride.
But another question also is, I mean, how did we get here? Fraud, contrary to public policy. What do we need to do to prevent such actions? Because we will be having these contracts. We are still having these contracts with foreigners. Will they be afraid? Will the international arbitration, also be afraid to do business with Nigeria? Or
I think we must get our ass together as a country, strengthen our institutions in order to prevent incidents of corruption. We need to also have a regime of consequences for criminal infractions. We must put a law and order regime in place, and we must prioritize adherence to rule of law and best practices in the conduct of government affairs. We should walk the talk in terms of fight against corruption. All those who are involved in putting Nigeria into this kind of situation, which we don't really live now, there should just be consequences after this. We should take a closer look at that judgment and see elements within and outside who collaborated in putting Nigeria into this kind of mess.
We're going on break shortly.
Yes.
In perhaps 2 seconds, if that's even possible, is there an appeal? What's available for P&ID?
Well, now there will be a further hearing to determine cost. Because the issue, cost normally follows victory. So the hearing has to cost, because P&ID will have to pay enormous cost for this loss. I congratulate Nigerians. I congratulate President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I congratulate there's a synergy, and that must not be lost. The Federal Minister of Justice, the Office of Attorney General, the CBN, the Petroleum Resources Ministry, and all agencies of government collaborated in ensuring this victory. So there's beauty in synergy. So the lesson here is that rather than have an interagency rivalry, federal government agencies should collaborate, to work together in harmony and build a synergy for the progress of Nigeria.
Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Wahab Shittu, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us on the news at 10.
It's a pleasure.